Today's interview is brought to you by Macabre Marketing. If you're in the indie horror field, movies, authors, YouTubers, and podcasters, check out Macabre Marketing. They are amazing when it comes to press releases, interviews, social media management. They know how to put your name out there. And if you're in the indie horror, you definitely need that upper hand to help you stand out. So please check out Macabre Marketing and tell them that the Horror Room sent you. Hello everyone, welcome to the Horror Room. I'm Travis Bruce, and today we're doing another indie horror spotlight. Today I have a director with us, and he has a new movie that's actually on pre-order on Apple right now, but it's going to be streaming on Amazon Prime and everywhere January 2nd, and it's called The Mummy Murders. I have with us Colin Bressler. Colin, welcome to the Horror Room.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm really excited to be here. I really appreciate it.
The pleasure's all mine, my friend. So tell everyone about The Mummy Murders.
So The Mummy Murders is a story about a chance. Imagine if you had a chance encounter with a famous serial killer, and then how you would respond. And it's about a TV and news reporting writer, TV reporter named Alexis, who stumbles into a situation where she's having a conversation with a very, very famous serial killer in her city. So that's kind of the basic setup. And they have a chat, and we learn about him and the story, and then it kind of unfurls from there.
Now, how long from the time from writing or initial concept to the actual production did it take?
So I thought of the idea. I actually watched a movie. I'm spacing on the movie, but it was with Harvey Keitel, and it was about a reporter who meets with Meyer Lansky, the mob boss, and not a horror film, unrelated entirely, but I just really liked it. Like basically they meet at a diner, and Meyer Lansky, this famous mob boss, tells him his life story. And I thought, I was like, that's a really cool construct for like a movie. And then I was like, but obviously that movie exists. So I'm like, well, what other scenarios could you unfold? And I thought of the idea of what if take Meyer Lansky out, and what if it's like Ted Bundy or someone like that? And I had been working with an incredible writer named William Donahue, who co-wrote the film, but really was the lead writer on the film. And I brought it to his attention. I was like, Will, would you be interested in writing? I had read short pieces that he had done, and they were all brilliant and incredible. And I knew how immensely talented he is. He writes novels as well. So I was like, man, I know he could do this. And so I just told him what I just told you. That was it. I said, I just want to write a script about this, right? That setup. And then he kind of filled in the blanks, and he brought in so much of his genius to it, and really sculpted the main character and all this stuff. And we would go back and forth, and I would add little things here and there to it. But really, he did the yeoman's work on it, and we wrote it. He's a very, very prolific writer. Will is. So Will banged out the script in an incredibly amazing amount of time. But he's one of these people like Stephen King type that just writes and writes and writes. I can't do that. When I write myself, it takes a really long time. I'm very slow. I'm kind of lazy about it, procrastination. Will isn't like that. He's kind of like, he sits and he writes and he writes and he writes. I mean, every time I see him, he's like, I've got four different books coming out. And anyway, so we got that done relatively quickly. And then I then got into pre-production, and I had worked with Jason Scarborough, the lead actor, whose face is right there.
Right in the back.
Right there. He's a co-lead in the film. There's two leads technically. And I had worked on a movie. I did a horror movie called Remy's Demons, and he was the lead in that, and he did an unbelievable job. And then I knew I was like, I auditioned some other people, but I knew, I was like, I think he's the guy. And I looked at other people just because I was like, the character Remy in the other film was so different than this. But I kept coming back to Jason because I was like, he's just, the guy could do anything. I just had it in my gut. I knew how brilliant he is. Anyway, how he comes on, Layla Scott comes on to play the reporter. She's incredible as well. And then we just auditioned. I mean, we rehearsed a bunch of times, mostly on Zoom, and because I was traveling for work and stuff. And then Marla Makeley Alden, she came on as producer, and we kind of pre-pro'd and kind of prepared. And so there's a very long answer to your question. I apologize. But basically, it just took I'd say this film, more than any of my other ones, came together pretty quickly. It was, I mean, we shot last December, November, December, January, and then we had a little bit of pickup shoots. So the shoot itself lasted over the course of maybe 5 months, but it wasn't like we shot 5 months straight. Right. There was some pickup stuff that once I had edited, I said, I need to add some wrinkles to it. So I would come up with like short little accent scenes to add. But the basis of the film shooting was done by last January, actually. And then it was just edit, and pushing it all through. So, I mean, and then, here we are. So it was a long process, but, to be honest, this one, I surrounded myself, more so than my other films, I surrounded myself with incredible talent that made the film process go as smoothly as any film I've done to this day.
Now, I was about to ask you that, because a lot of indie filmmakers, especially in horror, they wear multiple hats. They're the director, they're the producer, they're the writer, they're the caterer, they do all of that. It sounds like to me it's an easier process when you have a good network and a team, and each person knows their responsibility, and you all come together and build something amazing.
Yeah, I mean, again, so Will wasn't just a writer; he helped produce the film. So Will would be on set and would help get props. Will, I'm not going to spoil anything because I don't want the audience to spoil. But there are some creative ways that this serial killer kills people. It's the most unique serial killer you're ever going to experience to date, and that's all from Will. And so Will would produce some of the kills in that context, without getting too deep because it's spoily, but basically, like, Will handled a lot of that. Marla would help me with locations and actors and casting, obviously, locations, food. Obviously, we don't talk a lot about that on shows and stuff, but it's like
important.
Yeah, people gotta eat, and like water and stuff. And the thing is with films that I do, they're so small that people think of when they look at Amazon or these places, they see all these movie posters and they think of them all as sort of like an equal thing. But it's like for these films like mine, it's like literally that poster, behind that poster is like 8 people. There's like a Avengers movie where there's 800 people behind it.
Easily, if not 1,000.
So you have 8 people. So, you got to care about like long hours. You want to make sure they're fed. You want to make sure they're comfortable. People have lives. A lot of these people have regular jobs or other things to do. So you've got to respect time and people's, Jason has a job, a real job, so to speak. Not belittling film industry, but like he's got a job, 9 to 5, got a family. So, I have to be respectful of that stuff. I can't just demand that Jason not see his family, or I need to shoot every day. And I know that even if he agreed to that, I know that he wouldn't be able to do that. He's a good father and he wants to be there. You know what I mean? So it just, Will, we shot in Will Donahue's house, and his wife was so amazing to like let us take over his house for a 14-hour day. You know what I mean? And
Wow.
his children, his children were there, and they were cool about it too. And and so it's just those things, those funky, weird things with like low budget filmmaking like this that people don't see. The cafe, the movie is about her. Alexis is writing in a cafe and stumbles upon this guy. The cafe was actually closed. Like they were literally like closing for good. And I had fallen in love with it for years because I had gone there for coffee. It's really close by where I live. And I thought I was doomed because I had been in touch with her for months. And finally, we're getting closer. About, I would say, November of last year, she's like, well, we're closing for good. And I was like, wait, but you said I could shoot there in January. And she was like, oh, no, you're fine. She was just like, I'm just telling you, like, there's not going to be much in the store. And I said, well, I just need tables and chairs. She goes, oh, that'll be there. She was talking about decoration. Oh, we'll put up decoration, It's quirky, weird stuff like that with low budgets, because in big budget, they'll just buy the store, or not buy the store, but they'll just say, hey, yeah, we'll rent it. What's your rent for 2 months? Oh, it's $1,100 a month. Well, we'll give you that. So you stay open for another 2 months. You know what I mean? I can't do that. It's all begging and pleading, like
Favors, yeah.
So it's a lot of that. So yeah.
And when it comes to actors, actresses, supporting staff as well, when you were creating this, did you have certain individuals in mind, or were you pretty much open?
Pretty open. I mean, I'm in South Texas, between Austin and San Antonio, mainly in San Antonio, but we also access Austin. Layla Scott is from Austin. And we pulled some other actors that were from Austin and nearby counties. But the area down here, there's so much talent down here, because of plays, and there's such a vibrant independent film community in San Antonio that I'm very lucky, because there's just so much. I mean, you would think that in towns that are not known for cinema, like Hollywood or New York or whatever, that you would, after I've done, this is my going on 8 films, that I'd be starting to have to just use the same actors over and over again, which is fine, by the way. I wouldn't be opposed to that. But I knew that some of the roles called for actors I hadn't really worked with, or may not have worked with. For instance, Alexis, I had never met Layla before. And I was like, oh, I got to find someone that can do this. This is a tough role. Like there's certain aspects of her personality. There's certain things they're going to have to bring to the table. That performance is so much about reaction, because she's reacting to this bizarre man, this bizarre situation thrusted upon her. And I off the top of my head, it's funny now that I think about it, I don't remember exactly how I stumbled upon Layla, although I think that my producer Marla connected us. But anyway, Layla came on audition, and I, like, right away I was like, oh, well, it's funny. I had heard about her, then I looked her up and I saw how professional she was. Like, she had done legit work. I knew, I was like, oh, she produces too. I'm sure directs. I know she writes. Like, she's a force. And so, but I had seen some of her work, and then I saw her. I was like, there's nothing, like, yeah, whatever it takes to get her on board, I'm going to do, And the thing that's crazy is, like, I think it worked out really well, because I thought originally I was gonna rehearse the two of them like a ton, Jason and Layla, but because of my schedule and their schedules and the way it all worked out, we actually never got to be in the same room together.
Wow.
It was actually one Zoom call where we just read the whole script. But to be honest with you, in hindsight, I think it worked out really well, because Layla hadn't seen Jason as the character, and Jason really, like, lives in the, not like he's not a method actor where he's like acting creepy off in the
I'm going to be him, yeah.
But like, he brought it, like the day one, minute one, he brought it, and I remember seeing Layla's kind of like, I'm sure it helped her, like I haven't talked about it, but I'm sure it helped her a lot to see Jason being this guy and acting kind of creepy in certain ways to get her there. Oh, wow. Okay. This is off-putting. Like what's
disturbing.
going on?
Yeah.
Yeah. And the fact that they didn't sit in a room in rehearsal for hours doing the lines and then chumming it up off, hey, how's your family doing? That kind of stuff. I think it probably helped because it created a little bit of more of a disconnection between them than if they had been like best buddies or worked on a bunch of other films together or something, which, could happen in a smallish community. So I think that helped a lot. And then in terms of the greater question, I mean, we had to find a young Jason, who Isaac, a young boy. He's 11 years old or 11 or 12 at this point, but he's amazing. He was also in Remy's Demons as Jason's younger, and nice. then we had to find a mid-age, who was Cole Springer, and Cole is just like Isaac too, but Cole's a veteran actor, done a ton of stuff. I think he's a rising star. He came in to play sort of Jason's early years kind of thing. And so, but it was like we had to find faces that would make sense to be Jason younger. Also, the clothing and wardrobe had to be past tense, so to speak. So, that was the hardest part, was trying to figure out who could look like Jason and then play him in a different set, in a different time in his past, in a flashback. Yeah. That was a difficult part of casting and all that.
I can imagine that's tough. Now you said that you've done 8. This is your 8th film. Does it get easier each film, or does it still remain hard in different ways?
It's hard. It's hard. This is going to sound like a cop out. It's hard and easier. It is not harder. It's always hard because I'm sure movies are just hard to do. It's because I think why movies are hard to do is because it's a collaborative experience. So like if I write poetry, right? When I want to write poetry, I just go and write poetry. I don't have to find out if someone's available. You know what I mean? Or if I wanted to, I don't paint, but or if I'm a musician and I wanted to play around with the guitar or write a piece of music without a band, film, unless you're doing something where you can control it entirely by yourself, film it calls for, you need actors, you need somebody to help you out, you need a producer, you need so like that is a difficult process all the time, finding the right people, schedules and all that kind of stuff. It's gotten easier in that my experiences have educated me enough to know how much I can bite off and chew, like I know what I can accomplish and I know what I can't. And so, whereas early on, I think where I was when I first started making my own films is I think I bit off a little more than I could chew at times because I wasn't really aware what I really could do. Now it's like I feel really comfortable writing something or whatever, or moving forward because I go, okay, I wrote that scene or I co-wrote that scene with someone or whatever. I can pull that off. And so, I don't think it'll ever be easy or it'll never be not hard. It'll always be hard, but I think it gets easier in that the experiences have educated me to go, okay, I know what I can do and what I can't do. So if I write something and I'm like, that scene calls for 30 extras and fight choreography and all this, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to pull that off to the degree I think is going to be valuable enough. You know what I mean? Like, I think anyone could probably pull anything off. It's just can we do it to the quality we want?
Yeah.
The hard part,
Because I mean the number one key factor with most indie, I don't know if indie in general, but indie horror filmmakers I've heard is budget. I mean, crowdfunding, Indiegogos, budget. Now, over time, 8 films in, when you're thinking of an idea, is it easier now for you to be like, okay, I know how much it's going to need to cost this is if I do X, Y, Z, it's going to be this budget. Let me cut this out because I know I'm going to fit them. Does it make it a little easier to fit your budget?
Yes, 100%. I mean, I've written my films usually with a co-writer, either Josh Kaza, who's a brilliant local writer down here, or William Donahue, Ronald Mercado, right? But they would tell you, especially Josh Kaza, that I'm really kind of annoying because I now know exactly how I can get done what I need to get done. So when we're writing, I'm always like, no, we can't do that. You wrote a cop car there. I'm not getting a cop car. Like, I don't have it. Like, I now know all the resources I have, but the thing I want to make sure is clear is like, if the value is there, like if you and I were writing a script, let's say, right, and you wrote two cop cars pull up and they jump out with their guns out, right? I might at first be like, ooh, like, no, let's change that. But if we sat down and talked and you were like, no, you don't understand, like, this scene is the whole theme of the movie tied together. If we don't do it with these cops, then we've lost. That's what I would fight for. That's when I would be like, okay, then we need to find out. I'll get on the horn, talk to someone like Marla, producer, and go and be like, how do we do this? How do we find these things, right? Like, how do we find two working cop cars? I could find cops. I could find people to put them in the uniform, right? It's more the cop cars. How do I find someone who rents cop cars, that kind of thing? So yeah, I mean, it would become things that I would, but I'm very much a right to what I can achieve kind of filmmaker. I'm not interested in sort of, for me, I'm not interested in trying to up my ante each time. I totally value that. I think that people who do that are brilliant. That's not me. I'm more kind of like, well, what story, what kind of small lo-fi story can I tell that I think is interesting, that I would want to watch if I were like at a movie theater, or like someone said, hey, check out this film, this looks interesting. So like I try to keep, but yeah, I mean, I'm annoyingly kind of keep things budget level as much as humanly possible. Believe me, like I said, Marla, I'm sure wanted to strangle me. Christy Crandall, who I'm making a film with now, they all want to strangle me because I'm always like, no, let's get rid of that. But what do you mean? It's in the script. I don't care. It's not important. To me, I'm all about like, what's the story about? Like, I know it's written, but like, to me, is it vital to the story?
Yeah.
Like the film I'm doing now, we have a lot of blood effects and makeup stuff that cost money and time.
Mm-hmm.
But I had to do it. It doesn't work without it. Like I believe me, the money, seeing the expense and everything, I was like, oh my god, like that's a lot, But at the same time, it's like, it has to get done, and it's got to look good, and it's got to work. So let's do it.
For your movies, because you were saying that in the Mummy Murder that there's a lot of interesting kills. With that in your new movie, do you use majority practical effects, or do you mix in some CGI as well?
Only practical. I've never done. I'm not opposed to CGI. I just I think you agree. I just think if you can do it practically, great. If it's unsafe and it's easier to do CGI because there's something going, you know what I mean? That's fine, and I'd be all about doing that. But yeah, no, I've only done practical. I think there's been a couple of my films over the years. There's been a couple of minor little things we did CGI, but most everything has been done, in camera, like, on set.
And do you have a go-to guy or gal that you use for the effects, or is it all in-house?
We have, well, no, I mean, yeah, I mean, we have, usually we're all doing it on set. It's like, Eden Lopez, used to do blood work for me. on Domestic Hell and Bloody Drama, my first couple of films, and then he's kind of, I still work with him now and again, but he's doing other stuff. But and then recently I've started to work with some new people. But yeah, I mean, I'm always that's another arena. It's like always trying to find new talent and new people to kind of get collaborate with. But a lot. There's been times it's literally just pouring blood on somebody. Like
Yeah.
pour the blood. Okay, I'll do it. That's the thing about this area I live in, and I'm sure it's true of anywhere. But it's so impressed because there's so many people here that have a lot of different talents. So you'll have someone on your set like Ronald Mercado. Like he can do your lighting, he can do gaffing work, he'll do camera operating if you need it. But then at the same time, like he was in the military, so he could do stunt coordination. He knows makeup effect. You know what I mean? So like helping you out on your project, all of a sudden he'll be like, "Oh, let me help with that makeup thing, the blood effect," even though he was your camera guy. You know what I mean? So like I've been very fortunate to have a lot of people like that in my life doing this, where they've been able to sort of jump on board doing other stuff. And the truth is, and I'm sure you've heard this from other low budget filmmakers, but it's like, I mean, you can't really make these movies without people that can wear different hats and that are cool with just sort of jumping. Oh, I'm the boom operator, and I'm going to do the blood work. You know what I mean? Like, it's the lifeblood, I think, of this level of the industry.
Now, and I 100% agree. I mean, from what I hear, it's a lot going on, and you have to be able to jump on at moment notice and, put on that hat that you might not be used to doing. Now, there's a lot of new filmmakers who follow my channel, who watch my channel. What is some advice that you can give them when it comes to getting your movie out there? Well, I say getting your movie out there, not on a streaming service, but getting an audience and get a cult following.
I would say the first thing that I've learned is if your ideas can be targeted towards a niche audience, the better, right? Try to avoid being overly generic. And I don't mean generic in a negative word. I mean generic in the actual Webster's dictionary, right? Like, I mean, like try to think of like, am I going for, all right, I'll give you a better way to talk about this, is that like, so this film, Mummy Murders, my PR people that I'm working with, David Roberson he was telling me that he's like, the beauty of this film is it plays into a huge audience, which is the true crime audience, right? It's like it's a vehicle for that. It's a vessel for that, right? That was sort of by accident, because it wasn't like Will and I talked about that early stages. I don't go and think that way as I make the film, nor do I think your audience should, to be honest. I think they should just look inside of themselves and think of stories that they think are interesting, even if it's off a YouTube video about some murder or some ghost hunting or something, whatever. No matter what it is, just think about, okay, so I've got this basic idea. Where's my audience? Before I start writing this wholeheartedly and going to town on it, how do I want to target the audience, right? So like one of the things is, let's say that it's your story involves a killer or some sort of killing situation, a slasher, whatever, it doesn't matter. Do you want to sort of make it gory, or do you want to make it more Silence of the Lambs type thing? You know what I mean? Do you want to? Are you looking for the people that really like Terrifier type stuff, right? Are you going for that? Then if you are, go all the way, like figure out and push it as far as you can. If you're going with the Silence of the Lambs, then make that as dark and creepy and mysterious as possible and push it that far. You just don't want to be on you don't want to be in the middle, left kind of holding the bag, and your audience is going, and I did that early on. I'm telling you from experience, like I did it early on. There was a few, like Domestic Hell, I'm very proud of. I think it's one of my best works, but it doesn't have, there's no audience for it directly to go, it's not, there's no sort of blood and guts. So in there, that's not there. There's no slasher. That's not there, right? There's no hunting, not there. It deals more with domestic violence and stuff like that. So it didn't, the mistake I made there was I didn't find a genre, a niche to live in that I could attract people to, that could say, oh, serial killer, like this movie. Oh, I personally do.
I do too.
So I go, okay, so I'm gonna give this movie a shot because it's about a serial killer. It might suck, but I know I'm innately interested in that. I've made movies where people can't make that connection to it because they're like, oh, okay, I don't know. I'm not really into that. I'm not really into that. Oh, domestic violence kind of turns, that's freaky, weird, like kind of much, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I would just say, I've, in a long-winded way, I've already said, but basically, like, think of your audience and try, and whatever inspires you, and then really try to push it so you give that audience what they want.
Yeah.
That's what I would say.
And you just said something about domestic violence in the movie, and my brain turned off. Like, and I don't know if that's every man's brain. A movie about domestic violence turns a man's brain completely off. Yeah. So at that point, you're eliminating 50% of the population.
And that movie itself is very hard to watch, right? I realized once it was over that I was like, oh, I didn't make a horror movie, actually. This was a drama, encapsulated in a horror packaging. It missed. It was packaged wrong. I was like, oh, I should have lightened it a little bit and then repackaged it as a drama that goes to Sundance or something. You know what I mean? Yeah. I was trying to say, oh, it's a horror, but it's not. I made the mistake of that. And then it's funny because my next movie, Remy's Demons, is about Satanism and demon worship and stuff like that. But and that movie is better in terms of the horror. There's a lot more horror aspects to it. But I made some mistakes there because I cared so much about the character and I added a lot to it. So that's not a bad thing. I know, I don't want anyone sitting here going, what are you trying to say? No, it's not a bad thing. It's just that, like, you have to understand what your audience's wants and needs are going into it. And every audience, if somebody's going to watch a Julia Roberts rom-com, they don't want to watch her strangle a dude. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, they're not there. So if you write that in, first of all, the studio would never let it get by, but they would be, the audience is going to be like, wait, what just happened? Julia just killed someone.
It's not what I signed up for. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the same with any audience. Horror fans are going into it for a certain thing. Whether it be like, I personally, I really like the Conjuring stuff. Like, I like the ambient, that I'd say those horrors are I'm a huge fan of. If I go into those, I don't want them to play around in another genre to then get me back to it's like, no, just be the Conjuring. Like, don't be a lighthearted comedy and then get me back to the Conjuring. It's like, yes. Like, don't, and so that's it. I just think that, like, that's what I've learned, I guess. It's an amazing question, by the way. That's what I've learned, is that it's like, be in your genre, live in it, and embrace it for what it is, whatever that genre is. If you're a comedy person, then make it funny as hell. Like, don't hold back and don't get too caught up in some other stuff. Like, just make a damn funny comedy, whatever that genre is.
I agree. All right, one last question. This is an off-the-wall question. Now, when it comes to making horror or even watching horror, the newer horror movies, a lot of them have strong political agendas and stances, and whether it be, I say political, or I mean just a statement, whether it be feminism, police brutality, racism, all that. Do you like that in your horror?
Nah, I mean, I think it's a little bit like the conversation, what we just talked about. In that, I think that again, it's like, I don't know, it's like if you think about it, right? Like, I'm a huge sports guy, so if I go to a sports game, whatever it is, football, whatever, I don't want to hear about politics, right? I don't even. I'm the kind of guy, like, I don't even want to see my favorite comedian. Like, I don't, like, I'm just like, get to the damn game, get rid of these people singing at halftime. You know what I
Yes,
mean?
I hate them. I hate that type of business. I really
feel
do.
the same way about what you said about horror. It's
Mhm.
that, like, look, I'll say this: if you can infuse into the story, if the person has an agenda, or maybe not, agenda is an ugly word. It's not the right word. If the person has a perspective that they want to get across that is meaningful to them and their experiences in the world, whether it be feminism or whatever, I totally support that. But make it fit the story like a glove and have it flow with the story. Don't shoehorn it in as an element to the story that just sort of like lives over it, and it pushes the story. You're going, okay, I feel like they keep sort of preaching at me.
Yeah.
It's there, and I've seen it done where, anti-war movies, right? Like,
Mhm.
they're obviously set. They're not called anti-war movie, right? But we've called them, the critics and people like you and I, movie buffs, have called them anti-war movies over time. But they're just war movies, but they're anti-war. But I've seen some that are amazing, just great war movies that just make you ask yourself, damn, that looks horrible. Like,
Yeah.
should you be doing this? That's fine. That's all you have to do. You don't have to go, war is hell, and have flashing lights saying war is
Every
hell.
2 seconds.
Same thing in
But-
war. You want to be like, we're trying to scare you, but we also want to tell you that things should be equal here. Like, I don't think, I just don't think in cinema, in genre cinema, I think drama and other areas of
Yes.
cinema, it can work and it's fine. I think that you have, like, sci-fi, horror, comedy, I think you just have to be very careful, and only someone that's really good can do that. I wouldn't do it because I know I wouldn't be able to do it. And the other thing I'll say is, the person better truly feel what they're trying to say.
Yes.
And that's why I would never do it, because I don't have a thing where I'm like, I want this next movie to be about the injustices to trees, and I'm going to make a movie about, you know what I mean? I've never been that guy. I love filmmakers who can do that. Some of my favorite filmmakers have done that, and they've affected me emotionally, socially, and I love it. But I'm always like, man, that's amazing how they can do that, because
Exactly.
I think it's amazing. So, yeah, I would just say no, because it takes me out of the movie, especially in a horror movie, where a horror movie is asking me to take on this experience and to be scared or whatever. I just feel like you're mostly just going to get me out of it and make me start asking questions about my social experience. Like, what?
Mhm.
How is
And
that helping?
And I'm a black guy, and I'm saying this: the last Candyman just turned me off. And I saw it in the theaters, and it just turned me off, because I paid $15 to go see a Candyman movie, which is somebody in the mirror, Candyman killing people. That's what I expect to see.
Yeah.
And that movie was made during the climate of in this country, and it was just police brutality, racial injustice, gentrification, constantly. And it just was like, whoa. Like, I don't like that in my horror movies. I go to see a horror movie.
Don't you think that, like, some, not all, but don't you think that, like, some horror films innately kind of make us ask questions,
Yes.
right? Like, about ourselves and our society, and, like, without, like, they're not saying it, like, spelling it out.
Yes.
Like, it kind of makes you go, oh, interesting. Like, these people, like the strangers or something, like, people interacting with each other or whatever. The Purge, I think, is a scenario where they're obviously trying to say something about violence and humanity, but it's done in a clever way that you ask you really just leave the movie. You're saying, would I purge?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
am I that much better than these people? Like,
I know.
I don't know. Did you ever see Them? The show Them on Amazon?
Them. No.
Yeah, it's really, really good horror thing, but it's dealing with race and stuff, but it's not like, I didn't see Candyman, but it I just thought that it's like in the 50s, and it's about like integration and all this stuff, and like the racist people are kind of, they're dealt with like the boogeyman. But I thought that it was done in a way that made you experience the racism of those people, how they were experiencing it, and how it was so fascinating, because I never felt like it was over the top, but I always felt like it was on point to like what they were trying to say, but it was still scary as hell. Like it didn't.
I love something like that.
Still felt scary. Like I was like, this is scary, but I didn't feel like I was being asked like, I just want you to make sure you're experiencing America's racist history all in once. It wasn't like that. It's like, no, here's individuals. You're going to experience them, and then you're going to experience the fear they fear for themselves in this society. But none of it was heavy-handed. It was just like part of the story, and it was scary. Like I was like, and it was. I mean, I never recommend it. I mean, I
I'll definitely check it out.
I found it to be brilliant, like the way they did it. It was just really freaky and weird. But anyway, that was off the top of my head.
No, but Candyman was the only movie in a long time I fell asleep halfway through the actual movie in the theaters. Like it was not what I signed up for. It was not. I did not sign up for a preachy message about race. I did not. Once again, black guys is saying that I came to see a good slasher, and I got something completely different that had a whole hidden agenda message in it that it was thrown in your face every 2 seconds. And like, I'm like, yeah, well, listen, why would we leave this theater? Yes, I know what the real world looks like, but I'm in this theater because I don't want to, especially for a horror movie, I don't want to experience the real world.
No, you don't deserve. Like, do we go to carnival rides to have the ride pretend to malfunction? We need, I think everybody wants to step out of reality a bit at times.
I'm a black dude in this country. I know it sucks being black in this country. But I don't want to see a horror movie that's thrown at my face. It sucks being black in this country. Like, I don't want to experience that. That's not fun. I didn't spend my money for that shit.
Yeah, and I think that, I always get back to it's entertainment.
Yes.
It's all entertainment that that doesn't diminish the value. Believe me, I live my whole life as this. I love film.
Yeah.
It's like, but we gotta be entertained.
Yes.
Whatever that is for the person, but if it's being scared or laughing, whatever, but it just shouldn't really make you go, oh, that's right. Like taxes are coming.
Keep that stuff in the dramas. Keep that into the dramas, like that heavy political message shit. Keep that in the dramas, not in horror. Like 100%. I mean, listen. I believe in women's rights and so forth, but I can't sit through a feminist horror movie. I can't do it. I instantly that all men are. There was one out that came out like 2 years ago. It was called Men, and I actually saw it was an indie horror movie. I saw it in the theaters.
Yeah. Was that the lady? It's like alone in a house, right, or something?
Yeah, well, she's alone in a town, and it's all of these toxic, creepy men. And it was just too much. It was just like every man is a pervert or something. And I was like, it's too much. And that's I even had this conversation with a woman horror filmmaker. I was like, I can tell instantly for the most part if a woman is directing a horror movie because it's this. I'm like, men don't talk like that. Men don't act like that. And like, not every man is the devil, Not every woman is the devil. So like, it's just a turn off for me.
That movie was too weird for me to even get that far with it.
It was, it wasn't.
I was like, I halfway through when that dude is like a guy and he's naked or something outside,
naked in the woods.
this guy stuff like that. I was like, what the heck? Like I didn't even find it. None of it was scary to me. It was just weird. Like it was like off-putting and bizarre. I was like, what the hell? You know what it was? I didn't understand what it was asking me. Off me. You know what I mean? Like all films ask of you something, right? They're saying like, oh, I want you to be be scared that the demon's gonna come around the corner or to fall into the mythology I'm creating here. That movie. I remember going, I don't know what this movie's trying, unless, like you said, unless that's all it was. It was trying.
I don't know who that. I don't even know who that movie was made for, because I guarantee right now, if I did a poll with 100 different women who are horror fans, I guarantee you maybe 10% of them even seen that movie.
Yeah.
I guarantee you, because and I feel like most men, but at the same time, I paid $15, so I sat there and watched the whole damn movie. But if I was watching that on TV, I would have turned it off 10 minutes. And I would have completely checked out. Yeah, but I saw that movie and Candyman back to back, and I was like, I made a post on social media. I was like, can we keep the whole woke movement out of horror? Like, I appreciate it and so forth, but like, horror is meant to be offensive, and horror is meant to be racist. Horror is meant to be misogynistic. But that's horror. I mean, that's what you get. Horror offends. It's meant to offend everybody equally. Like, let's keep what
a Pearl, you know?
Yes.
But female lead, she's the killer. Like it's okay. Like it's fine. You don't have to do that stuff where it's over heavy-handed and like in your face. Like, not to say that Pearl's a feminist movie or anything, but it's a movie that there's no damsel in distress in that way, that kind of thing. And it's great. Like, it was perfect. The tone and the piece to it. I mean, at least for me, I love it.
Yes, I love Pearl. Listen, I love X. I love Pearl. Yeah. They're amazing.
And that's what I'm saying. I mean, that's a world where you can do that stuff where, you can flip it a bit, but you just don't have to do it where you're like over the top.
Exactly.
Like you said, especially bringing in, the thing to me is like, don't, because man, I didn't even understand. That movie, that's a world of filmmaking that I respect, but I don't understand fully. That's like high art filmmaking. What I mean by high art is like, when you go to like a modern art museum and there's like a string from the ceiling with like a Q-tip hanging on it, and you're like, that's an art installation.
Yes.
And you're like, is it? Like, yeah, all right. I mean, I'm like, I don't even hate on it, because I'm like, I don't know what this. I don't know what this means.
That's how I felt when I left the theater. I was like, I had to, because I was so like, I used to do movie reviews, so I would not read what the movie was about walking in. I would go in, and sometimes that's the best way to go. Like Barbarian, like I walked in, did not know it, and I loved it. Oh, yeah. Amazing. But I walked in with that movie not knowing what the fuck that was about. And then like afterwards, I read the description of the movie, and it says, a feminist horror movie about toxic masculinity. I was like,
yeah, I didn't know that.
Oh. I was like, oh.
Yeah. I saw a trailer for it.
I did too. It looked great.
It made it look so different.
It made it look so different.
I thought, I was like, I liked it. I think it was A24. I liked the
A24. Yep.
I was like, okay, I like their stuff. The trailer looked cool, and then like you said, I mean, it had me for the first couple, like 10, 15 minutes. I was like, okay, she's in this thing. Like, it's gonna get weird. But then like all the guys were the same guy and all that.
Yeah.
Girls, and I was like,
it was basically saying that all men are the same. That's what the movie was saying. That all men are creepy weirdos.
But again, like that's fine if you do it cleverly. What I don't like is that it just, I believe in my opinion, to a degree, that it artistically shoehorned that concept. What I mean by that is the same actor played all the men in the movie, which means is we are no longer in reality anymore. So where are we? And if we're not in reality, then all men aren't the same, because these are all men. It's one guy. right?
Yep.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, you're making me jump through hoops. If you're wanted to say and try to tell a story about all men being the same, then they need to be all different men.
Yes.
Like, it be one man, and then show like a bartender that's a different actor
Yep.
doing a
You can have
whatever.
all kind of men, different races, different ages, and they're
Yep.
all the same.
And link them somehow, creatively, cleverly, in a way that as a guy I could go, huh, we all do kind of think that way. You know what I mean?
I know we do, exactly.
Respectively go like, okay, that's interesting. But it was the same guy. Then that made me go, okay, so this isn't real. Is this a dream? Like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like, I was like, I don't know. This film's at this point the little stick hanging from the ceiling at the museum, and I'm like, I don't disrespect anybody. By the way, because I make film, I'm like, I never say a film is terrible, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe that for me. But like I will say like stuff like that in terms of I will be like objectively, the imagery was beautiful, it was shot really well, the music was good, like all of the tangible cinematic tools were used.
The acting was great. Acting was great.
The directing, but it's like the story and the concept just didn't work. And no one could tell me they did unless they sat with me and said, here's why objectively. Like subjectively, someone could jump into this conversation and be like, that's my favorite movie of that year. What are you talking about?
Exactly.
And I'd be like, that's cool. Like, you liked it. There are movies I like that you might even be like, that's a trash movie. You like that?
But if you're gonna have a message though, but if you're gonna have like an underlying message, don't people have to get the message?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. You got to get it. No, there's a great YouTuber. He's overseas. I think he's Spanish or something. And I really fall in love because he just talks about film language and he shows you movie clips. But one of his things was literally what you're talking about. It was his argument was that you should never preach to your audience. You should try to convince them. And he talks about what the difference between those two things are. Because he's like, on one hand, a filmmaker could preach, and he shows, I forget the movie he uses as the preachy one, but it's basically like the actors, the script, everything's going, hey, you need to think this way. You need to believe this, right? And then he shows an artful way that someone is trying to convince you and I as the audience how to feel about this thing, right? And it's really made me think a lot because I was writing a script at the time that's a kind of a little bit more esoteric for me and about like life and consciousness. And it really influenced because I think I was going to start going down this slightly preachy, and I was like,
yeah,
made me kind of reanalyze and go, okay, so he's right. Like I shouldn't be I can't preach. I can't come straight out and say, hey, people, you're not valuing your lives enough. And that's what this movie's about. No. It's about saying, hey, people, these characters in this movie have realized that they've allowed their lives to slip away and they haven't cared enough about their living and the experience of life, period.
Mm-hmm.
And then the audience members go through those characters, say, oh, that's interesting. Like, yeah, I agree with that. I think I need to start taking my life a little bit more. You know what I mean? Instead of it being like that Men movie where it's like, they're all bad. They're all bad.
But who was the audience? But my whole thing is, who was the audience for that movie? Like, I don't know. It clearly no one, because no one besides you and I has even heard of that movie or watched that movie.
No one I know. I always, because I wanted to talk to someone about it. When you brought it up, I was happy because I've been trying to find. Like, I'm like,
I actually paid to see this movie in the theater, which I'm telling you, it was a ghost town in that theater. I was the only person sitting there watching that movie.
I think I had the same experience.
And I was like sitting there like, who is this for? Like, this is not for feminist women. This is not for women at all. And this is definitely not for men. Who is the target audience for this movie? There is none.
And that circles back to your question for the younger filmmakers. You make a movie like that, then you're going to be in an empty theater watching.
Yes.
Because people are going to be like, what
The only person that'll be in the theater is going to be you and I watching it. Yep.
Yeah, because people are going like, I don't know where, what's going to happen is word of mouth after it gets through the art world of people.
Mm-hmm.
Certain festivals, certain types of people kind of probably liked it or pretended they liked it.
Mm-hmm.
But once it gets to word of mouth, people like us are going to say, "Nah, you're not going to want to watch it."
Yeah. Because the art world loves that Candyman movie, but real film watchers who fucking hate it.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. That one I haven't seen.
The artsy. I mean, filmmakers, I feel like that. You know what I mean? The artsy filmmakers, indie filmmakers, love that. So it hits so many different levels and blah blah blah. But real people who are the ones who pay to watch them hate that movie.
And that's another really quick. I know we're running out of time, but I want to say that like for younger filmmakers too, is make sure you connect like early stages of your edits. Try to show them to average people that are not in the film industry. I don't mean to say average; that's derogatory.
Yeah.
People that are either moviegoers or just non-filmmakers.
A casual.
Because they're going to tell you the real thing. Mm-hmm. They're going to tell you because a filmmaker might tell you certain scenes are just freaking awesome because they look great or the editing's good, right? But a person that just watches movies that isn't in the film industry is going to tell you like, I have some of the response I've gotten over the years. I wish I had recorded because they're so brilliant and some of them are funny, but like people just experience the regular audience experience movies so differently than a filmmaker does because it just is.
Filmmakers are not going to bash other filmmakers either, especially in the indie. They're not going to say nothing bad. Unless I've interviewed tons, and they are not going to. I stopped asking a question. I was like, one of the questions I was asked, what's the worst movie you watched in the last 5 years? And no, very few indie filmmakers will even answer that question because they do not want to bash. So,
it's just so that's what I'm saying. And you get that real audience reaction when you ask people that are an audience. You can ask them questions that are just simple. You don't even have to get into like, did the editing work for you? No, you're just like, did you enjoy it? Were you scared?
No.
Were you creeped out by the lead? He's supposed to be creepy. And if most of them are like, nah, not really, then you got a problem. Then it's like, oh, I got to get back to the drawing board. Like they're not scared at all by this guy. Okay. Were you scared of the creepy ghost in the closet? Nah, not really. I mean, it was cool. It was interesting. Oh, really? Like that. You're a filmmaker's not really going to give you that. They're going to be like, what you could do to make it scarier? More shadows, right? They're going to tell you how to improve it.
Lighting and stuff like that. Yeah.
They're not going to tell you that it's not working at all.
Because
they're filmmakers. Like they'll only tell you that because technically it's not working at all. An audience will tell you emotionally it's not working. I don't know. I'm not scared. I watched a movie. It wasn't scary to me. Oh, really? Well, it's a horror movie. Oh shit. Like it just, you're not going to get that. Anyway, I think that's a huge thing because like I started doing that years ago and it's my favorite thing in the world because you get so many fascinating opinions and you never hear anyone. No one ever goes like, oh, the color grade isn't great. Like no one cares. They're there to watch the movie and tell them they want to see a story. They're not going like
exactly.
Oh, that one his shirt wasn't blue in the other scene.
But I don't know if you do this. But even when I go and research a movie that I want to see or so forth, and the reviews, it says the professionals reviews and the audience reviews. I never ever pay attention to the filmmakers, critics in their reviews. I go straight to the audience, and if you majority of the time, it is a completely different number. It is the filmmakers will rank it 99% out of 100, and you look at that audience and it says 43.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Yeah, because it's just that I always tell people about festivals is that film festivals are about getting your film in front of filmmakers and getting them to like it. Then getting your film somehow at a film festival, now more filmmakers are going to watch it. It doesn't tell you anything about the prospects of your film. Nothing. It's really just a series of events for us to be praised by fellow filmmakers. And then hopefully some powerful agent and or whatever production company, someone buys your film and puts it on Netflix or something, right? That's not, it's like your audiences are going to be on iTunes when you start to see maybe people put reviews, or Amazon Prime or places, because people start putting reviews and you start to engage with people. Definitely like engage. I mean, you have an audience, so like you've got to engage with their comments and stuff. Same thing as a filmmaker. Like if you see people commenting on your film or your trailer and stuff, engage with them, have a conversation with them. Oh, what'd you think of the trailer? I saw you said you liked it. Oh, what'd you think? What'd you like about it? Just stuff like that. Just starting to do it is huge, because the festival thing is important, but it's really just it's artists celebrating artists. It's not audiences. None of the very few festivals have actual film audiences there.
There have been so many film festivals. I mean, there's been so many movies I've seen with hundreds of film festival awards, and I watch them and I'm like, this is unwatchable.
Yeah. Or they're very artsy and you're like,
yes.
So I don't know. I guess
I don't know what's going on. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you're like, oh, there's a film for filmmakers. Like I saw a film the other day that was, on Netflix, highly respected. I think it was one of the rare ones that they bought from like Sundance or Toronto or something, film festival. And I watched 20 minutes and I was like, I can't give this any more of my time. I'm bored. Yeah. It was very slow. It wasn't, I was just like, I saw the beauty of it. I was like, yeah, these people knew what they were doing, but I was like, the story is way slow. It's the same crap too. I was like, I could tell I was entering into one of these sort of like, what are they called? Like, like a film that's like the grittiness of life, and you see a dirty apartment, but there's a lot of plot to it. And I was like, I know where this is going. I mean, I don't need to find out more. And I think those films really appeal to filmmakers because it's kind of like the salt of life. Oh wow, look at and to me, I'm still an audience member. I love movies. I still I'm still that little kid at watching Star Wars or whatever I want, So I want to be entertained, like I love the visuals in that were incredible.
The acting was incredible. The acting, everything was about it, but it was confusing. It wasn't scary. Yeah. It was.
Yeah. At the end, I walked out. I was like, oh, okay. It's like.
Again, I did not know the meaning. I didn't know what the fuck the movie's about until I went on and I literally said, "Oh, this movie is written by and directed by a feminist, and this is about toxic masculinity in men."
Yeah.
I would have never known any of that.
Like, it's funny because, like you said, I didn't never heard what you just said.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get that out of the movie.
I didn't either. I mean, after I read that, I was like, okay. I get it now that all men look the same. They're all creepy. They run around with their fucking dicks out. But I mean, that's the message. I mean, that's what they.
I've seen. I've seen so many better movies tell that same story.
Me too.
There's a list I could go through. That have dealt with the same issues or topics, but have done it artfully and interestingly, where it was a good story. And you're like, oh wow, okay, yeah, I guess some men do act like that, or certain types of men do act like that in certain.
But the crazy thing about it, though, I don't know if I should say this or not. Okay, but the men really weren't that fucking creepy. You know what I mean? Like they were creepy. Oh, in that movie, they were creepy, but they weren't trying to harm her. Creepy, you know?
Yeah, no, I know exactly. That's what I'm saying. I would not have gotten what you said out of that movie.
They were not trying to harm her, rape her, kill her, call her any physical harm. Creepy. They were just like the priest was. I can say this because I don't think anyone's going to watch this movie now. But the priest was just flirting with her, and the one guy. I mean, the closest thing was creepy. He was just running around naked. but no one was not trying to cause physical harm to her.
I truly I thought because of the I don't remember the story. I don't remember their connection, but the dude that commits suicide,
It
I
was her
thought
boyfriend
okay, so her
or
boyfriend.
husband. No, it was her husband. She was about to divorce her husband, and
Okay,
he didn't want to leave, and he killed
I
himself.
thought that the entire movie was some sort of like allegory for her guilt and I didn't think it was. I never thought it was anything more than about that woman and the guilt and the like the pain she felt from the husband deal. I
This is
never
something.
ever saw it as anything any commentary about like the world. I really just thought I was like, okay, so this is a really artsy, weird depiction, I guess, of like her grief because she witnessed a man that she was leaving, so she felt guilt, like, oh, I divorced this guy, so I guess maybe I'm at fault for his death. Like I could, I could play that.
That wasn't even a bad guy, but this is something too. I just didn't like her. Now I'm sounding like a misogynist, but but I didn't even like her character because, from what I remember, the reason I like her character because she didn't even have a good reason for leaving her husband.
Yeah, I
You
didn't.
know,
I didn't get it. Yeah,
like
I don't think
like
they explained that actually.
no, and then he was trying to work on things, and I mean, he was trying to, hey, let's go out for dinner. I brought her flowers and so forth, and she was just being like, no, I'm done, like, and like,
Well, that's why I thought. That's why I thought it was about grief and guilt. I thought that she was in. I thought that weird dude that kept coming up in different people. That, like you said, the priest. I thought it was like some psychological because like I'm not going to ruin it, but at the end that whatever that was that happened,
you,
I
you
thought
can run it. I don't think anybody's gonna watch this movie. I don't think
I was
anybody's
just
seen
saying
this movie.
I thought that
Okay.
whatever that was, I can't even describe it, but whatever that was that happened at the end, I thought that was like some sort of like rebirth of her, like she was finally getting over her trauma. I'm not saying this is good, by the way. I'm saying that was the best. That was the best I could make out of it. Because I was like, I don't know what the hell this was.
I was just so confused. I was
Yeah.
confused the whole entire time, and I was just annoyed by her character the whole entire time.
And the thing is, look, sometimes it's cool if, as an audience member, if I have to sit there and like try to think about what I just watched, and that has happened to me. And there's some movies that I've liked that I've been like, wow, what exactly was that? Like, did you see Beau is Afraid?
Yes, great one.
Yeah, that was a movie that I enjoyed for the most part. I thought the third act kind of slipped into
Yeah,
absurdity beyond absurdity, but whatever. But I at least walked out of that movie and I was like, I was having the same questions as I had in Men, but they were good. Like they were fun questions. Like I was asking out of. I kind of enjoyed that. What exactly was that movie trying to say? Whereas in Men, it was like, what the hell was that? What did I just watch? It was like,
yeah.
two very different, distinct things. I think they're similar in that they were using absurdity and stuff, but just one at least stuck the landing, and you kind of at least could go, okay, so this is a movie about like this man's fears.
It was entertaining too. Beau's Afraid was at least entertaining.
Yeah.
Men was not entertaining. Once again, it was
no, it was not.
beautiful movie, excellent acting.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just it wasn't entertaining.
Not at all.
And the woman who's the person that you wanted to feel sorry for, that's what the filmmaker was trying to do, make you feel sorry for her. She was not even a likable character.
Yeah, no. Yeah, totally. I don't think that's it. Yeah. If what you just said is true of the filmmaker, which I'm not saying you're wrong, I think you're right, then they failed.
Because she wasn't even a likable character that you were like. I mean, because even like the men that were in that movie, we're going way too long about this movie that's not even yours. But yeah, I need to have her ass on here and do an interview. But the men in the movie, some of them were trying to help her, and she just had this whole oh, stay back, don't do
Yeah.
anything to me, like attitude. And it was just like it didn't make her likable.
I don't think they did anything to have anyone connect with her. I don't think there was anything in
No.
that film that made anyone. I don't think anyone, even somebody feeling exactly what the filmmaker wanted. I don't think they did anything where somebody said would go, "Oh man, I really relate to this character. I feel I don't I
Because
you know
even like the reason for her leaving her husband, they didn't say, "Oh, he cheated on her. Oh, he was beating her.
yeah
Oh,
exactly
something
yeah
bad." It was, "Oh, I'm just not feeling this anymore." You know what I mean? It was just
yeah
like, "What?"
yeah I'm just done, and then he kills himself. So it's like okay, so that's tragedy, but I don't. I have to watch it again, which I won't.
No.
But I don't remember any time where they gave me a real sense of how all this made her feel, except for the weird stuff. And then, like you said, it's what is the famous thing? It's Save a Cat. There's a book, I think it's called Save a Cat, and the whole idea is it's a guy who teaches writing, and he says you got to have your character save a cat at some point. Not
Yes.
he's saying metaphorically, right? Like
Mhm.
if you want the audience to like or care about the person, they need to save a cat. Some
Yes.
point, she never saved the cat. I don't think.
No. No.
I don't remember every minute of the movie, and nor do I want to. But it's like
And the poor man was like, "Please don't leave me. I love you, roses." He said, "I'm gonna kill myself if you do." He was like, "Well, I don't give a fuck," and he kills himself. And like,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like I don't think they ever did anything to make us go, oh, I feel for her, man.
oh yeah, he was cheating on her. Oh, he was
And all
against
this bad stuff happens, or
something.
you're like,
Nothing.
I didn't care that whatever the hell was happening at the end. I'm like, is it going to kill her? I'm like, I don't. And no one wants that. No one wants tying it back to my movie. I don't want. I want you to go, Alexis. I want you to care about Alexis's circumstances,
Yes.
story, and I want you to go through the story, and I want you at the end, however it ends, I want you to go. I feel connected to her. I want her to get through this.
And you want us to hate the person that you have devoted as the bad guy.
Yeah.
You don't want us to like the bad guy.
Then the audience is going by the end. They're in this weird gray area where they don't know how to feel, which is
Yeah, you don't want us to like the bad guy and hate the character that you meant to be the one that we're supposed to be relating to.
Yeah.
Because that's the point.
Otherwise, you're in this you're in this area. It's like Halloween. If they made Jamie Lee Curtis's character, if they made her like that, where we're just kind of like we don't know if we give a crap about her, then you're like, I don't know, Michael Myers, like, get this job done here. Come on.
Or if she was just a total B like throughout the whole entire movie, and it's her and Michael Myers. You're like, well, I don't care if she dies or not.
Yeah. There's no suspense. You wouldn't be invested. You'd actually just be going, well, I guess I'll just watch to see what the final death scenes.
You know?
You're not going to be the way you are at the end of that movie, which is, going, oh, get up.
Yes.
Right there, run.
Yes.
That only happens because we cared about her during the film. She was I forget what they call her, but she's some likable to where
she's a sweetheart.
Yeah, I'm rooting for her. So I'm not, like, I don't root for anyone in that movie. And therefore, I don't. And there's other movies like that where it annoys me because I'm like, damn it, why didn't you make me root for somebody? Because now I don't. This movie didn't work.
I'm not going to say this movie, but I've said this movie a million times, but I'm not going to say it anymore. But there's definitely a movie that I watched. I didn't care about any of the damn characters.
Which is the death of the movie.
And I didn't know nothing about the killer. They did no character development on the killer. It was just a clown just running through people for 2 hours. And I'm like, I don't get why people love this movie so much.
Yeah, I thought those that doesn't work for me. I like character. I like kind of diving into.
I need to root for someone. I need to root against someone. Plain and simple.
Yeah, you have to.
You gotta have a bad guy and a good guy. You just can't have.
I could do this anytime.
You just can't have characters where you don't know who's bad and you know who's fucking good. It's just they're just there, and like you're like, all right, listen, we just went on to a whole long rant, but it was a fun rant though.
It was.
So everybody, listen, do not watch Men, but definitely check out The Mummy Murders. You can pre-order it on.
I hope the person that made Men is not watching this.
I hope they are, but not really, because I think listen. We've talked about a movie that most people have not seen. I think most people are now going to go and watch this movie. One of the movies that I did a review for, and I bashed it so much, the filmmaker said, "Wow, after that video, so many more people went to watch the movie because of that." And I'm like, see how that works?
All right. Well, but, I need you to do a bashing the Mummy Murder.
No. But listen, we're not going to talk about Men anymore. Check out The Mummy Murders. Pre-order on Apple right now, and it's going to be streaming on Amazon Prime, everywhere else on January 2nd. Colin, where can everyone find you?
Instagram at Eating Crab Studios. It's a weird name, but that's my studio name. That's the main place. That's on Instagram. I post a lot of like movie stuff and things like that. Pretty much there.
Awesome. Well, guys, check it out.
Thank you for having me.
Right. It's been a pleasure having you on, man. Listen, I'd love to have you back on anytime. We can sit here and talk about just random movies if you want.
Anything. That's fun.
All right, everyone. Well, thank you for coming to the Horror Room. I'm Travis Bruce. I'll see you guys next time. Take care.